Is the red light on? Yes, good. Here we go. So Bertrand Tavernier, the writer-director of The Princes of Montpensier. So, first of all, how do you get interested in a subject? This is a 16th century tale of the Huguenots versus the Catholics when there was war, internal war throughout France, a religious war with Catherine de Medici, I guess, fuming the flames, or fanning the flames. And we have the princess here who is caught in a classic love triangle. A woman who loves a young man from boyhood, but finds she is betrothed as a piece of property to another man that she does not really love.
That's the second part of your question that got me involved in the project. I'm never interested to do a film about a period. A period is not a subject. A moment of history is not a subject. A young woman who is forced to, a very, very young woman who is forced to marry somebody she doesn't know, even if she is in love with somebody else, and she's submitted to a fate she has not been prepared to. This is a subject. And I want to understand what happened to her, how she will learn how to survive, how to deal with that, how she will try to keep her pride, how and to become at the end maybe wounded, maybe hurt, but free. So that for me, it's a subject. A period, again, I repeat, is not a subject. Then I will try to understand what is the world in which she is living. But I've not made a film about the Protestant against the Huguenot against the Catholic, or even Catherine de Medici. Those are very complicated times, and I approach them only through the eye of somebody who understands very little what's happening around her. And I think it's much more interesting. It's like, let's say, dealing with a very complicated moment of your own, the history of your country, of America. But trying to make it alive, seeing through somebody who understands 15% of what's happening. So the ignorance of the main character is like the ignorance of the audience. And the audience will discover the things when she's discovering them. And by the way, it's something that I learned. It will look strange. I learned that from the film of Hitchcock. That the director should never be ahead of the audience. So he will always give as much information to his own characters, to the protagonist, and to the audience. And I think that's the only way to deal with a period film. Or you are doing a kind of a lesson in history. It's become something very scholarly, academic. But I mean, history, especially the history of that period, is made of blood, of passion, of intolerance, of violence, of love. And I'm only interested in the emotion. And through the emotion, you slowly understand what was the period. That it was a period where people, very, very young people, were given very high responsibility. I mean, the Duke of Anjou, which is one of the main characters of the film, who became king under the name of Henry III, was general-in-chief of the whole Catholic army at 17. Imagine now somebody at the giving the American army in Afghanistan at 17.
It wouldn't happen.
No, it wouldn't. But I mean, just imagine that, and that will give you, however, time. I mean, they were because he was ready since the age of 13 to become to have such a post. So the protagonists of La Princesse are very young. So they have the energy, the passion, the impatience of the youth. They move fast, they run fast, they want to love, they want to get what they want very quickly, and that gave to the film, that gave a drive, an energy to the film. In fact, for me, I never film them as historical characters. They do not know that they are historical. They do not know that they belong to the story. They live at the present, and I have to film them at the present.
Well, did you think at all of the parallels to modern day arranged marriages, which we hear so much about, especially with the Middle East or in India, where women have no choice still today?
But even in this country with the Mormon, I mean, with some Protestant, I mean, it's happened. At least half of the world it submitted to. Yeah, I didn't have to sing very far. I mean, the film is about religious intolerance, and I mean, killing in the name of God. Unless I'm completely wrong, I think it still makes the first page of most of the newspaper in the world.
Now, you have cast Lambert Wilson, who has just been seen in the film about the monks slaughtered by Algerian fundamentalists of Gods and Men. He is the man who is a man of war, a Count de Chaban, who leaves it because he is disgusted with the murder of innocents in the name of God. And he is, in a way, also the audience's entry into this story.
Yeah, he is, I think, the backbone of the story, and he is a bit I would say, is the character to which we could identify very easily, the screenwriter and myself. I mean, he's somebody who has been through violence, through war, who wants now to withdraw from that. In a way, he's very, very, very close. And I discovered that after having finished the film, to the character I had in Life and Nothing But, played by Philippe Noiret, who also was a soldier who participated to the First World War, who saw the abomination of the war, and now he wants to get away from the world of death and try to make a few steps towards peace. And he falls in love also with a very young woman of a higher rank than him.
Was that Sabina Zima?
Yes, yeah. And that's, for me, it's so, I think both are brothers, Chaban and the Commandant de la Plane. They are very similar. It's a kind of character I like. Somebody who has experienced something very, very tough, and he has a kind of distance now with the world in which he lives. He's the only character who has a kind of distance. Because he's more educated than the other.
And older.
Older, more educated, and he's typical too of that time. That period was full of great writers, great artists who had been at the same time warriors, fighters, philosophers. You had from Benvenuto Cellini to Montaigne to Michel de l'Hôpital. You have plenty of great characters, great figures who were not like now, where you are either intellectual or a man of action. They had been men of action, men of war, and they had been at the same time intellectual, scientists, philosopher, and a poet, artists like Benvenuto Cellini, who was a swordsman and somebody who was building some of the most beautiful statues
the world is still seeing.
Yeah. So I love that.
What about casting Melanie Thierry?
Thierry,
as the princess. She is a gorgeous woman, and she has to struggle with this idea of being, first of all, rebellious, and then her mother counsels. You talk about the youth, and her mother says that you have this youthful vigor, but you must learn not just obedience, but what I was so lucky to not be in love with your father.
Yeah, that's a line from a letter from Madame de Lafayette.
Who wrote the novel?
She wrote the short story I adapted, but I found it in the letter, that line, which I think is terrifying. He said, love is the most troublesome, it's the worst thing in the world, and I pray God, I thank God every day that I have been spared, my husband and myself, from that